Now, sitting at, head of growth for Virtue, a really interesting brand, which I do want to get into. Along the way though, you learned this language of driving growth, of actually making big opportunities a reality, doing big deals, having the language to, you've gotten to touch some just epic brands. I mean, you've just gotten to do some amazing things. You, what was the foundation that you started cultivating this ability to, yeah, to get into these conversations, have, because to me, you're moving large scale things forward, and you came into the space from this entertainment, background, which is awesome. But what started giving you the chops and the table stakes to be able to, yeah, to do growth at the scale that you're doing it now? Where did you learn that?
Personally, it's a combination of two very important things, and they work hand in hand. My number one passion is people, really understanding people, getting to understand people, getting to know people. And ironically, I'm actually an introvert, I'm an introverted extrovert. So I love to expel energy by getting to know people, etc. But to regain my energy, I need my alone time. Um, and the fundamental thing to growth is building relationships. And when you, through those relationships, you find out what people are concerned about, what's keeping them up at night, etc. And maybe it's maybe it's innate. I like to find ways to solve things. I'm a problem solver, and so when I'm speaking to a CMO or a CEO or chief communications officer, what's keeping them up at night, and then learn those things, and then find a way. If I can't solve them, I'll find connections in industry to go, you should talk to X, Y, and Z. But more often than not, what I'd love to do is find a way that how can I help and how can my team come together and help. But so I think on the one hand, the first pillar is really knowing relationships, building relationships, knowing them inside out, and being a trusted counsel and companion, right? On the other hand, is also understanding culture. And this is where I think my own personal interest, stemming from my background in music, understanding what's actually in the cultural zeitgeist, what's happening in the cultural zeitgeist, and how to stay relevant in that conversation. And often you will find brands' biggest challenges is actually how do they keep up with what's happening in culture. And that's the biggest proposition within Virtue. Our main proposition is insight culture, and we're inside marketeers helping brands get insight culture. So this for me was just like, oh God, this is a marriage made in heaven. It just makes the job so much easier.
Okay, well, that leads to really a good segue to like tell us about Virtue. This is this creative agency that's born from Vice Media, big presence in over 20 countries, a lot of award-winning campaigns. If you go to their, I spent 30 minutes today looking at some incredible campaigns that you guys have been a part of. Tell us about Virtue and your role there as head of growth.
It's my current home, and it's a home I've loved to have built over the last year and a bit. So Virtue is the creative agency powered by Vice Media Group. And as a lot of people will probably know Vice Media Group, it's the original millennial digital publishing brand. It was very renegade when it started. It really has a different tone. It actually reflected what was happening with the millennial culture. We're about, forgive me for getting this number wrong, but about 25 or 30 years old in between that. And we started the young millennials. That's where our origins were. We were the as I said, the renegade brand and the way we reported and talked about the world. And even if you look up on our Instagram feed and Vice News, for example, or our TikTok feed, you will see how we talk about, this seems like an old term, but citizenship journalism. It's literally journalistic prowess that's literally on the street. What's the beat on the street? It's very real, it's very gritty. And that is the essence of culture, right? It's about being right in those communities. And a number of years back, so I think about 12 or 15 years back, Virtue was born from that, because we were talking to a lot of the brands and realized a lot of them didn't know how to communicate with the audiences that they were trying to focus on, which was the millennials. And today we've evolved with that. We still own the millennial conversation. We have that as a core base, but we have a growing base of Gen Zs and ongoing Gen Alphas as well, and we are preeminent in the Gen Z space as well. And so what has been really special about this is being able to work in an organization that has a real deep insight into an audience that a lot of brands are trying to connect with. So if you think about the sort of the generation that over time will probably be much less, which is the baby boomers, etc. How do brands actually engage with millennials? How do brands engage with Gen Zs and Gen Alphas? And we seem to be leading. We are leading from that front, and particularly because from the editorial side of the business. And all that intelligence and understanding what makes the reader tick, we have that insight into what makes them tick, and that powers the engine, what we call the predictive culture engine of culture within Virtue, and that helps us build brand platforms for clients that connect with audiences who are either millennials or Gen Zs or Gen Alphas, and that's a unique proposition within Virtue. We are also the only creative agency at the heart of a digital media publishing business. There is no other creative agency that sits at the heart of this. So that's a unique proposition from our side.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This segment is brought to you by Salesforce. Salesforce brings marketing and engagement together. If you want to learn more, head over to salesforce.com/marketing. And please subscribe to this channel for more marketing insights from the world's best marketing leaders across the Fortune 500 and beyond.